Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the second workshop of our first ever MCPS-HBCU seminar series. This morning, we are going to learn more about HBCUs and also provide an opportunity for students to talk with our HBCU guest speaker about best fit HBCUs. In addition, we will also have several HBCU alumni who are here today to discuss their experience and answer questions you may have about those HBCUs. So without any further ado, we're gonna go ahead and get started. We have Ms. Leslie Jones here who's the founder and director of the 107, and she's going to give us an overview of HBCUs. So I'm gonna turn it over to Ms. Jones.
Thank you. Thank you, Karen. Good morning, everyone. As was stated, I'm Leslie Jones, the founder and director of the 107. The 107 is an organization that was established with the promoting historically Black colleges and universities. My focus is largely on the academics of HBCUs, which is why after I do my opening presentation, we will have the opportunity to chat one-on-one to discuss which HBCU might be the best fit for you. I am originally from Cleveland, Ohio. I moved to Washington, D.C. to attend Howard University, and I earned 2 degrees from Howard, one in education and one in history. And since that time, I've taught many years, including in Montgomery County Public Schools, and now I am focused largely on promoting HBCUs through the 107. So I'm going to get started and share my screen so we can do our overview of HBCUs, HBCU 101. So first, what is an HBCU? A lot of people come up with different ideas of what constitutes an HBCU. Are many colleges in the country that sometimes are considered an HBCU, but are not necessarily an HBCU. In order for a college to be considered an HBCU, or historically Black college and university, it has to be a college that was established prior to 1964. So any college that was established 64, 65, 72, anything later, is not going to be a historically Black college and university. They don't have the history. So additionally, aside from being established prior to 1964, they have to have a primary role when they were established of educating former enslaved men and women and their descendants. Most were started after the Civil War. There are a few that were established prior to the Civil War. And if you think about it, it makes sense that they were established in northern states. So Wilberforce University in Ohio, Lincoln University and Cheyney University are the 3 oldest established. They were established in Pennsylvania, Ohio, and then what is now known as UDC got its start in 1851 in Washington, D.C., which is one of the few places that had a large free Black population that allowed the education of African Americans at that time. The rest were established after the Civil War or during the Civil War and in the South. There are 107 colleges identified by the United States Department of Education as HBCUs, which is where my organization gets its name from. Of those 107, 2 are currently closed. One is St. Paul's College in Virginia, and their alumni are working to try to get it reestablished. And the other is Concordia College, Alabama. 2 are currently unaccredited. That's Knoxville College in Tennessee and Barbara Scotia in North Carolina. Now, if you follow the news in higher education, there are 2 exciting things that happened last year related to HBCUs. One of them is the fact that Morris Brown College, which for 20 years did not have received accreditation from a body this past year. So it is now not only continuing to be open, it's never closed, but it's accredited, which means the students can now get federal financial aid. It's the first HBCU to lose accreditation and then regain it completely. And then Lewis College of Business, which is the only HBCU that existed in Michigan, closed in 2013. It is reopening this year with a partnership. It's now going to be called Penso Lewis College of Business and Design, and it's reopening this year. So those were 2 exciting things that happened with HBCUs in terms of resurgence. Excuse me. The oldest HBCU, as I mentioned before, is Cheyney University. It was established in 1837. The youngest HBCU is the University of the Virgin Islands, established in 1962. These are some HBCU myths that come up, things you might hear when you're talking to people and you say, oh, I'm thinking about going to HBCU. These are some of the types of things that you might hear as pushback. I know when I was in high school and I decided that I wanted to go to Howard, my AP English teacher told me that he thought I would be wasting my intelligence at Howard University, which of course, as we all know, is not true. But there are all types of things, negative things that people say about HBCUs that might discourage you from attending them. So we're going to go over these throughout the presentation. First is one of the biggest ones that's false. HBCUs don't prepare you for the real world. Anybody can look at somebody like Kamala Harris and know that that is not true, or that HBCUs are easy to get into and easy to get out of. We'll discuss that. And there are some HBCUs that have open admissions, meaning they will give you the opportunity if you did not do as well in high school or on your SAT or ACT. But that does not mean that it's going to be easy to get out, that the work is going to be extra easy just because it was easy to get in. It's not the case. Another myth is that HBCUs are only for Black students or that HBCUs lack diversity. It's completely false. Second, third, HBCUs are expensive. So in general, HBCUs are 1/3 less than their counterparts, sometimes more so. And it's all relative. There are some people that paying $30,000 a year for college is not going to be a challenge. And there are some people that paying $2,000 for college can be a challenge. So it's all relative. But if you were to compare HBCUs, so for example, and most people, when they say that HBCUs are expensive, they're referring to about 5 HBCUs, Howard, Hampton, Spelman, Morehouse. Typically, those are the types of schools they're looking at. Those are the most expensive HBCUs. But even then, when you compare them to other schools, so if you compare Howard to Georgetown or Howard to American University, it's going to be half the cost to go to Howard than it costs to go to Georgetown or American University. The same thing if you were to look at Spelman or Morehouse. If you were to compare them to Emory, which is also in Atlanta, it's going to be half the cost to go to Spelman or Morehouse than it would cost to go to Emory. So the idea that they're expensive is just not true. And of course, it's relative to your own personal situation. Finally, HBCUs are only in certain neighborhoods. You will hear that a lot. You might hear that they're only in the South, which I've already explained that is not the case. I've given you several examples of HBCUs that are not in the South. You might hear that they're only in the hood or they're only in the country, and HBCUs are located all over the place. So where are HBCUs located? 19 states, plus the District of Columbia and the United States Virgin Islands. Northern and southern states. So you look at the map, you'll see Ohio, you'll see Maryland, you'll see Delaware, and then of course you'll see states throughout the South. And it stands to reason that the majority of HBCUs were established in the South because that is where the majority of African Americans live. The colleges were established. Every major city in the South, with the exception of 1 or 2, has an HBCU located there. So whether it's Houston, Texas, Nashville, Tennessee, Atlanta, Georgia, which has multiple HBCUs, Miami, Florida, every major city in the South pretty much has an HBCU located there. The only one that doesn't that I can think of is Kansas City, Missouri. Every other major city has an HBCU located there. Rural, urban, and suburban. I came to Washington, D.C. to go to Howard because I wanted to be in a city. I did not want to be in a small town. I didn't want to be in a rural area. But there are HBCUs that are in small towns, that are in suburban areas like Bowie State University, Hampton University. And then there's some that are in rural areas like Tuskegee or Mississippi Valley State. So it's going to vary. And it depends on what you like. You might love being in a small town environment where there's not a whole lot not a lot going on, because that's not necessarily the case, but not a lot of distractions that you might find in a city. And then you might want to be in a suburban area where you can get to a city and engage in activities and things like that, but then come back to campus and it's a much more serene, calming atmosphere. You like the beach, there are HBCUs near beaches. You like mountains, there are HBCUs near mountains. So there's all types of things that you can do near an HBCU. HBCUs in Maryland. So as you know, hopefully you know, there are 4 HBCUs that are located in Maryland. They are all public colleges, which means that they are state funded, or at least get a large percentage of their money from the state in which they're located. Morgan State University, Bowie State University, Coppin State University, and the University of Maryland Eastern Shore. Bowie State is actually the oldest of those colleges. It was established in 1865. Morgan, and on the screen, you can see that I put different things that each college is known for. That doesn't mean that you can't get another program at that school, but these are some of the top programs at the school. Morgan State, Engineering, Communications, Business, Visual Arts, Architecture, and Performing Arts. Bowie State, Computer Science, Education, Psychology, Visual Arts. Coppin State, Nursing, Education, Social Work. Coppin State is also adding quite a bit of STEM programs that are now options for you. If you want to major in a STEM field, Coppin has added quite a few over the past decade. University of Maryland Eastern Shore, Aviation. So if you want to be a pilot, University of Maryland Eastern Shore offers that option. Engineering, Physical Therapy, Pharmacy, and Visual Arts. Keep in mind that since you are a resident of Maryland, you would pay in-state tuition at these schools. So when we talk about cost, these tend to be more affordable for Maryland residents because your family's paying taxes to the state of Maryland, so your cost there is lower. Additionally, and I have this feature on my website that you can look at later on that talks about if you were to work part-time during the school year, say 15 hours a week during the school year, and then you were to work full-time during the summer, which is 40 hours a week during the summer at a minimum wage job. And Maryland, of course, has a higher than average minimum wage than other states. But if you had a minimum wage job, meaning you could work at a Wendy's, and you worked during the summer, and then you worked part-time during the school year, you could fully fund your tuition at any of these colleges. HBCUs near Maryland. So sometimes people want to be close to home, but you don't necessarily want to be that close to home. So there are several options that you have. The HBCUs that are located in Pennsylvania, that's Lincoln and Cheney. HBCU in Delaware, which is Delaware State University. Of course, DC, which would give you Howard and UDC. And then HBCUs that are in Virginia and West Virginia. So West Virginia, you have Bluefield State College and West Virginia State University. In Virginia, there is Virginia University Lynchburg, Virginia Union University, Virginia State University, Hampton University, and Norfolk State University. So those are, I'll give you out of state, but still close to home if that is something that you prefer. Types of HBCUs. So first, we have four-year public and four-year private. One of the things I want to point out, because a lot of people get a little confused when you hear the word college and university in a school's name. The only difference is if you hear a school and it says university, that means that it has graduate programs. That's it. It doesn't mean that it's better than a school that's called a college, anything like that. It simply means that it offers graduate programs. Bottom line. So there are HBCUs that are colleges, meaning that they only offer undergraduate degrees like College, Morehouse College. And then there are HBCUs that are universities, which means they also offer graduate degrees like Howard University, Morgan State University. So they offer both. There are a few colleges in the past couple of years that started adding graduate programs, and so they have changed their name to university or will be changing their name to university. Edward Waters is one that's in Florida. 2 years ago it was Edward Waters College. It added graduate programs and it's changed its name to Edward Waters University. There are also some colleges that offer graduate programs, but still maintain the name college, such as Tougaloo College. But I don't want you to think if you see a school and it says college, that it doesn't offer the same high caliber education that you can get at a school that is called a university. So we have four-year public colleges and universities that are HBCUs. That means that it's a school where you can earn a bachelor's degree or higher if it's a university. The public colleges, again, are the ones that are supported largely by the state. They get a lot of funding from the state where they are located. That makes a difference in terms of tuition for many colleges, but not all. So Again, if you live in the state of Maryland, that means that you can attend schools in the state of Maryland as an in-state resident, so your costs will be less expensive than someone who is coming from, say, Ohio to go to school there. But there are also some public colleges that will waive your out-of-state fees. So that means that depending on your situation, it could be based on where you're located, it could be based on your GPA, it could be based on your major. There are some HBCUs, and this information is on my website as well. There are some HBCUs that will waive your out-of-state fees so that you would pay what someone who lives in that state pays to attend the college. There are also four-year private colleges. Four-year private colleges do not get a large amount of money, and sometimes no money from the state. They're funded by tuition, private donors, and things like that. So the cost to attend is the same no matter where you come from. So for example, again, I attended Howard University located in Washington, D.C. It is a private college. That means that if you came from Washington, D.C., you come from Maryland, you come from Ohio, you come from California, what you pay is going to be the same in terms of just your flat costs. The tuition doesn't change based on where you reside because it is a private college. There are also community colleges and technical colleges. These are schools that allow you to earn, an associate's degree. The associate's degree is something that could be, that will allow you to transfer to a four-year college. It could be something that provides you a skill or training. Maybe you want to be a cosmetologist. Maybe you want to be a auto mechanic or get your CDL, your commercial driver's license. So trade schools offer those. So there are HBCUs that are trade schools. Some of them are private, or some of those community colleges are private, some of them are public. And then there are professional schools. The professional schools are the colleges that offer graduate degrees only. So a school like Meharry, which is a medical school, offers graduate programs. A school like Interdenominational Theological Seminary, which is a long name, it offers programs for people who want to be ministers, and those are graduate degree programs. So there are some schools that focus on graduate programs as well. Affording an HBCU. So this goes back to what I was talking about, the conversation that HBCUs are expensive. Throw that out your mind if that is something that you think, because there are all kinds of ways to pay for an education. There was an article recently published by a gentleman who's a vice president at the UNCF, Rodriguez Murray, and he was talking about how he went to Morehouse his first year. He had to take out a small loan. He got money from different sources, but then he went and he talked to somebody in the financial aid office, and they directed him towards scholarships. He applied for a UNCF scholarship and it fully funded the rest of his degree. So there are outside options, of course, that will help you afford your education. Scholarships, local scholarship organizations are an excellent opportunity. Your counselors at your school have a lot of information for you to apply for scholarships. So if that is something that is a need for you and a concern, get busy and reach out to your counselor so you can learn about how to pay for your degree with an outside source. Additionally, all colleges offer some sort of merit aid. So if you have a GPA that's at least a 3.0, and it's going to vary by school because some schools you're going to be required to have at least a 3.5, some will be a 3.0. It really depends on the school. But if you apply and apply early, plan early. So those of you who are not seniors, if you are the lower grade you are, 9th, 10th, 11th grade, the better chance you have to make sure you're getting good grades, because those grades make a difference. Making sure you are preparing and studying for the SAT or the ACT, that goes with your early planning. Making sure you are taking challenging courses, not just taking the class because you think it'll be easy, because colleges do like to see that you have taken some challenging courses that are going to help you be prepared for college. And then apply early. If you are a high achieving student and you believe that you have the opportunity to get a scholarship through a school, apply early. Just because the deadline says February 1st, which I think is Howard's deadline, or March 15th, or April, or says we have rolling admissions, it doesn't matter what your deadline is to apply, does not mean that if you apply that date that you're going to get a scholarship. The earlier you apply, the better you will be, the better off you will be. So apply early, okay? The second thing is that there are certain schools that when you apply, you have to apply for apply separately for Some schools will automatically provide merit aid if you meet their qualifications. Other schools do not. I know that Florida A&M has an application for scholarships, and they've said if you want to get this scholarship, then you need to have your application in by October 1st. So again, apply early. That's for those of you who think you might be eligible for merit aid at a school. So plan early, start planning 9th grade, 10th grade, 11th grade, get those college classes, college prep classes in, start studying for the SAT, and then apply early. Don't wait till the last minute to get that application in. The early bird gets the worm. Working part-time. Again, I've already mentioned there are HBCUs, including the ones in Maryland, where if you work at a minimum wage job during the summer full-time and during the school year part-time, you can fully fund your tuition. Identify the most affordable colleges. If you know that your family is not going to be able to afford some of the most expensive HBCUs, that does not mean that one apply if you want to go, because you might get merit aid from the school, but there are going to be other options. I have people contact me all the time whose children want to go to Howard University. And I get it. I loved Howard. I understand why people want to go to Howard University. But Howard is not the only HBCU. It is not the only great HBCU. It is not the only HBCU you can attend and reach your goals. Okay? So look at other schools that offer the program that you are interested in, and there will be other schools that offer it. Look to see what their scholarship requirements are. You might be eligible for more aid at another HBCU than you would at a different one. So you want to look at all of your options and look and see. Most colleges on their website tell you what the requirements are for scholarships. That does not mean you're guaranteed a scholarship, but it means that you are eligible for the scholarships that they have. Look at all of the different schools that offer the programs that you're interested in, and see what type of aid is offered, because those are the schools that might be a better fit for you. Sometimes we have our heart set on one place and we're disappointed if it doesn't work out, but then you land somewhere else and you find out it was phenomenal. It was better than you ever imagined it could be. So look at some of your other options. Again, out-of-state fee waivers. If it is a public college, and you can almost always, most public colleges have the word state in their name. For HBCUs, there are some that don't, but like University of Maryland, Eastern Shore, but most have the word state in their name. So if it is a public college, and you know also if you go on the website and you look at the cost, and it will say in-state fees and out-of-state fees, that's how you know that it is a public college. There are public colleges that waive your out-of-state fees. It's contingent on what the school has decided and depending on your situation. There are schools, again, based on location, based on your academic program. There are some schools that once you get there and they get involved in organizations on campus, you might be a cheerleader, you might be an athlete, you might be in student government, they'll waive your out-of-state fees. So it varies based on school. Those waivers are something that you have to ask for. They are not going to just be given to you in most cases. There are also schools, I know Alabama A&M is one, that offers a scholarship for certain students that covers their out-of-state fees if they have a high enough GPA. So there are a wide variety of options that you can pursue that will allow you to pay for school as an in-state student. Mississippi Valley State and Alcorn State in Alabama do not charge anyone an out-of-state fee. It's all the same, no matter what state you live in. Another school in Mississippi, Jackson State, their out-of-state fees are $1,000 for the entire year. So you only pay $1,000 more than what other students are paying. There's another school, Elizabeth City State and Fayetteville State in North Carolina. Their fees are just $5,000 flat if you're an out-of-state student. So your tuition is only $5,000 a year at Elizabeth City State and Fayetteville State if you are an out-of-state student. Instead, I think it's about $500. $1,000, it's $500 a semester. And then there's a school, Paul Quinn College, which is in Dallas, Texas, that is an urban work college. What that means is that they have a program set up so that if you come in, you will work while you are in school. They'll put you with partner organizations around the city to help you work, to help you pay for your college. The idea is that if you are a student who is Pell Grant eligible, and you participate in their urban work program, which is what every student participates in, when you graduate, you shouldn't have more than $5,000 worth of debt, which is something that if you're working full time, you could really pay off in a year. So there are different types of schools, different types of options that are available that will allow you to afford your HBCU education. Don't let anybody discourage you and think you're not going to get any money if you apply to an HBCU. That is false. I had scholarships to Howard, Hampton, and Florida A&M. They've been doing this for a long time. It is definitely possible to get funding for these schools. Athletics. This is something that a lot of people want to know about. We have a lot of athletes, and you want to know about playing sports in college. Now, I am not an expert on the recruitment process. I know some people who are, but that is not me. However, HBCUs do offer a wide variety of options if you want to compete in college. You look at the pictures there, you'll see we have bowling, golf, of course, football, all types of different options that are available. You have some unique sports like lacrosse, wrestling, which is offered at a few HBCUs, swimming, sailing is offered at Hampton. Hampton also has a triathlon team. St. Augustine's College in North Carolina has a cycling team. Delaware State has an equestrian team. So if you are ride horses and you compete, Delaware State has a program for you. And then Bluefield State became the first HBCU to offer a tumbling and acrobatics program. They also have women's wrestling. So it's a wide variety of sports you can participate in. They have NCAA teams, NAIA teams, both are different areas you have to register if you want to play there. We have Division I and Division II NCAA teams. If you want to play in a Division I NCAA team, those conferences are the SWAC, which are teams pretty much in the South, and then the MEAC, which are schools on the East Coast. Delaware State, Morgan State, University of Maryland, Eastern Shore, Coppin, Howard. Those are the MEACs down to South Carolina State. The Division II CIAA, which would be Bowie State, Lincoln University in Pennsylvania. The SIAC is also Division II. That includes Albany State in Georgia, Morehouse, Clark Atlanta in Georgia, Kentucky State, Central State University in Ohio. Then we have NAIA, the Gulf Coast Athletic Conference, which is schools across the southern part, Florida, some Mississippi, Louisiana, and then the Red River Athletic Conference, which is Louisiana, Arkansas, Oklahoma, Texas. So there's different areas you can compete, wide variety of sports. A lot of times you have students, and recently, of course, Deion Sanders has really hyped up HBCU athletics. Not that nobody ever knew about them, but he's brought a lot of attention to HBCU sports this past year because he became the coach of Jackson State University, which is a Division I SWAC team. It is also an FCS. So if you play football, you know the difference between FCS and FBS is FCS. It is the leader in attendance for FCS. The SWAC is actually the leader in attendance for FCS conferences. Jackson State has been the leader in attendance for FCS teams. So you go to Jackson State, you play football, the fans are going to come out and they're going to see you play. Last year, when Deion Sanders signed Travis Hunter, I followed it on social media. There were a lot of people who were pretty upset about that decision that he made. Thought he was making a bad move, that he wasn't going to have anybody watching him. But of course, if you follow sports and follow football in general, you know that there are Hall of Famers who have come out of HBCUs. Shannon Sharp, of course, is one. Michael Strahan is another. Walter Payton, who went to Jackson State University. So HBCUs have produced multiple Hall of Famers. Currently, Darius Leonard, who plays for the Indianapolis Colts, is the highest paid defensive player in the NFL right now. Came from South Carolina State, Division I MEAC football team. Some of the most accomplished players in their field, whether it's tennis, track, football, have all come from HBCUs. I am a person who is a firm believer that there is an HBCU for you, no matter what it is you are interested in. Whether you want to pursue a path in STEM, arts, or a unique field. All of the people who are on here are actually people who are successful in their fields that attended HBCUs. The woman on the left is a woman named Jedidah Eisler, who attended Norfolk State and Fisk before becoming the first Black woman to get a PhD in astrophysics from Yale University. In the middle, Jelon Gavan, who is a choreographer and professional dancer. He attended Alabama State University, which is the first HBCU to offer a Bachelor of Fine Arts in dance. Other schools do have dance programs, but they tend to be part of another program. Alabama State has a Bachelor of Fine Arts in dance. Then we also have unique programs, and there are a lot of unique programs that are offered at HBCUs. If you look at the picture here, this gentleman is Barrington Irving. I mentioned that the University of Maryland Eastern Shore has an aviation program. There are about 6 or 7 HBCUs that offer aviation that will train you to be a pilot. Barrington Irving attended Florida Memorial, Florida. He became, at one point, he was the youngest person to fly solo around the world. He's the first African-American to fly solo around the world. And again, he attended Florida Memorial University. Unique programs across all over the place. Winston-Salem State has a program in motocross sports. So if you like NASCAR, race car driving, Winston-Salem State has a program for that. If you play golf and you think that you want to have a career that is related to golf, the University of Maryland Eastern Shore has a program in golf management that is sponsored by the PGA. So there are all kinds of unique programs as well that are offered by HBCUs. One of the things that I started doing years ago when I first started becoming an HBCU advocate, I would hear people say, I wanted to attend an HBCU, but no HBCU had my major. And I'm here to tell you that unless it's a program that is a specific graduate program, it's pretty much not true. Might not be the HBCU you looked at first, but there's an HBCU that's going to help you reach your goals. So for example, you might want to be an archaeologist. Well, there's no HBCU that has an archaeology program, but that is a PhD program. There are plenty of HBCUs that have undergraduate programs that will allow you to become an archaeologist later on. I have a friend who attended Howard who was an archaeologist. She went to Berkeley to get her degree, but for undergrad, she majored in African-American studies. So there's different paths that you can take to get you to where you need to be. And there's an HBCU that will help you do that. So closing out this part of my presentation, you can go visit my website, the107.org. And I'm going to briefly show you the database that's on there. That's something that you can use that will help you when I talk about academic programs. There's a database on my website. It's the first of its kind that tells you every academic program offered by every HBCU. So if you want to major in nursing, you can go on there. It'll tell you which HBCUs have nursing programs. If you want to major in electrical engineering, you can go on the database. It will let you know which HBCUs have programs in electrical engineering. And then, of course, there are special features. Periodically, someone will reach out to me and ask me a question about a particular program or something, and I'll do some research, and then I'll publish that information on the website. So there are special features that will tell you which HBCUs graduate a large number of African Americans in STEM fields and math, which HBCUs offer programs like opera. So there's a lot of information on the website for that. So I'm going to show that to you briefly, and then we'll be able to go to our breakout rooms. So this is the website, 107's website. If you click where it says Program Finder, or you go to find the HBCU for you, either one will get you to the same point. So if you come here, and I suggest you just start off with major before you go to degree or select a state, but start off with the major. Pick one and it'll let you know which schools offer it. So let's see. And so there's 1,400 different programs on here. So we can say communication disorders. So that's something that you're interested in. And notice that schools sometimes call the same program something different. So we have communication disorders, communication sciences, and disorders. It's going to pretty much be a similar field, but different schools call it different things. So it lets you know that if you want to major in communication disorders, Jackson State and North Carolina Central have that program. Wide variety of different choices. You want to major in economics. 31 schools offer programs in economics. And then of course you can filter by degree. You want to earn a master's degree, bachelor's degree, and so on, and it'll help you find that information. But don't ever be discouraged by someone telling you that if you want to major in something, you want to pursue a particular path, that you cannot do it at an HBCU. Absolutely false. There is somebody who is successful in every field that got their start or got a degree from an HBCU, whether that's working at NASA, whether it's in the White House, in Congress. There are presidents of other countries that have attended HBCUs as well. So you can get anywhere you want to go. Alabama A&M, which I mentioned before, they have a motto to start here, go anywhere. Anything you want to be, anywhere you want to go, you can get your start at an HBCU. So Karen, can you let me know how we're going to handle the next part, which is going to be the breakout room?
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Leslie. So for the second portion of our morning, we are going to have Ms. Jones stay here. And for students and parents who would like to talk with her about Best Fit, you will be able to stay here, and she's going to do interview sessions with each student and talk with you about the Best Fit.
Oh, yes.
Yes. She's going to talk with you about the Best Fit HBCU. And then for those of you who would like to talk with all of our HBCU alumni representatives that are here, and just to let you know, we have representatives from Delaware State, Payne College, Morgan State University, Norfolk State, Alabama A&M, Clark Atlanta University. We're going to we have another link where all of those folks will be available to talk with you about their HBCUs and answer any questions that you may have about the HBCU experience. So that's how we're going to take care of the second portion of our morning. So we want to thank Ms. Jones for providing the overview of HBCUs. Again, for all of those who are with us on the Zoom, stick around for the second portion of our morning because we're going to move into, again, Best Fit HBCU interviews. And then also we're going to have alumni available to talk with you about the HBCU experience.